I want to save the common people are words that he used to carelessly throw around, but now it sounds so foolish to his ears. Xie Lian covered his face in shame. He asks Banya why, of all the things to remember about him, she had to remember such silly words he uttered, like a child not understanding what she did wrong. Banya looked at him and reminded him how he earnestly used to say those words. Not only that, he used to be an endless will of motivational quotes like, "You're unstoppable, always do the right thing, and stand up no matter how many times you fall." With each motivational quote, Xie Lian shrunk deeper into himself, unable to believe how annoying he must have been, each word making him cringe. Do you ever stay up in bed thinking about stupid things you said 5 years ago? I do. Banya's voice has turned to a melancholic tone as she laments how she is no longer able to discern right from wrong. Like Xie Lian, she wanted to save the common people, but her actions resulted in the destruction of Half-Moon Country. She may have saved the people of Yang'an, but at the price of killing the people of the opposing country. Kamo treated her well, and the soldiers trusted and respected her. Her intentions when she took the role of Grand Tutor were good, but in the end, she betrayed them in a heartbeat, opened their gates, allowed them to die horrible deaths, trapped their souls, starved them, and not freeing them from their suffering. Her actions, no matter how she chooses, seem to only end terribly. She knows that she did atrocious things. She seeks the answers from the man she looked up to the most, wanting to know where it went wrong and what she could have done to ultimately save the people. Xie Lian, with this 100 years of experience, apologized to Banya as he, too, does not have the answer. Banya hangs her head in defeat. The 200 years she spent her life with seem meaningless and an utter failure. Poor girl. Xie Lian thinks to himself that he would be considered a bigger failure as he has been at it for 800 years and still has no answer. Meanwhile, San Long looks on at the two in silence. Closing the door of Puchi Shrine, Xie Lian tells San Long that although Banya may have turned into a savage-ranked ghost, it was not the reason why she stayed at Half Moon Pass. She stayed there willingly as she wanted to free the soldiers from their resentment. This is the reason why she allowed Kamo and his gang to hang her above the pit repeatedly for the past 100 years. As Xie Lian talks, he busied his hand in the upkeep of the shrine, arranging flowers at the altar. He remembers how Banya had been bullied as a child, how no matter how much suffering she went through, she did not recall the faces of the children who pressed her face down in the mud. She only remembers the person who picked her up and saved her from the mud pit. She remembers how she needs to wash the handkerchief she was given to clean herself before returning it. With sad eyes, Xie Lian relays to San Long that it is a testament to how pure Banya was. She only remembers the good things done to her and how she can repay them. With a sigh, Xie Lian deduced that if General Pei Jr. did not want Heaven to find out about the pit, he could have killed them all quietly with one of his clones. The method he used seems inefficient. San Long shook his head and stated that a clone's power would be far weaker. Feeding the souls with humans would get rid of their resentment quicker. With flowers in his hands, Xie Lian asks him why it would be necessary to get rid of the soldiers' resentment when General Pei Jr. can simply wipe them off the face of the earth. With a curve of his lips, San Long theorized that General Pei Jr. probably has a soft spot for Banya. He does not want the child to be hanged above the pit over and over again. San Long approached the altar and leaned on it. He flippantly told Xie Lian how the lives of the mortals fed to quell the resentment of the soldiers are mere ants in the eyes of heavenly gods. With no way to rebuff the statement, Xie Lian kept quiet as he picked on the flowers in his hands. Xie Lian thought it best to change the topic, so he asked San Long about his clone. A clone's power weakens in the mortal world, but San Long's clone appears to be very powerful. San Long takes a flower from the bunch that Xie Lian is holding as he tells him that the one standing in front of Xie Lian is not a mere clone. It is his real body. What? As in, he went to the mortal world himself to frolic around with Xie Lian, chop wood, make a door, and sleep in the same bed with him. That's some dedication. Surprised, Xie Lian can't believe that Crimson Rain-sought Flower will come to the mortal realm himself. Unable to contain himself, Xie Lian extended a finger to touch San Long on the cheek as he tested his authenticity. He needed to check. Touch him to your heart's content, Xie Lian. I have a feeling that he wants you too. Finally realizing his rudeness, Xie Lian blushed while San Long addressed him like a fox wagging its tail, clearly being pleased with himself. Xie Lian lets out a fake cough as he tells San Long how good the body appears to be. 100% authentic. San Long lets out a snicker at Xie Lian's embarrassment. Xie Lian can't believe how forward he was to rudely poke at the man's cheek. San Long teased him further as he asked if Xie Lian thought his skin was pretty. Scratch that. He's asking if the quality of the skin he's wearing can easily pass as a human. Or maybe he just wants to know if Xie Lian finds him pretty. Still unable to get over his straightforwardness, Xie Lian admits that San Long looked good. He catches on that San Long mentioned that he is wearing a skin. He deduced that this may be the real Ghost King standing in front of him, but this is not his real appearance. Letting go of his embarrassment, he asks the Ghost King if he can see his original appearance. San Long looked at him meaningfully as he continued to lean against the makeshift altar, still holding the flower. Xie Lian hastened to explain that he asked out of curiosity and for San Long to not take the request seriously. San Long stood quietly for a while with a pensive look on his face, until he finally tells Xie Lian that he will show his real appearance another time. Xie Lian graciously accepted it and looked forward to that day. Xie Lian commented on how tiring the past few days have been and invited San Long to an early rest. As fireflies fluttered under the moonless sky, Xie Lian laid his head on the mat. Unable to sleep, he opened one bleary eye and noticed that San Long was also awake. He turned his body so that he could face the Ghost King so that they can talk more comfortably. He can't help but be curious about how the Ghost Realm is run. He wonders if the Ghost Realm is run so loosely that a Ghost King does not need to make sure that everything is in order. San Long opened one eye as he casually mentioned that a Ghost King need not check in as everyone does as they please. This fascinated Xie Lian as the structure of government in the Ghost Realm is so different from the unified government of the Heavenly Court. He flops down on his back and asks if San Long has met the Green Ghost Xie Lian. Not hiding his disdain for the Green Ghost, San Long described him as a useless, tasteless piece of trash. He tells Xie Lian how he greeted the Green Ghost, who quickly ran away from him, earning him the moniker Crimson Rain-Sought Flower. It must have been an extraordinary way of greeting someone. Xie Lian realized that Crimson Rain-Sought Flower and Green Ghost do not get along. He destroyed the lair of the Green Ghost in the past with his spectacular greeting. Xie Lian flipped over on his belly as he continued with their chat, like a child awaiting a bedtime story. He asked San Long if there was any discourse between Green Ghost and him. Without hesitation, San Long admits to his dislike of the Green Ghost, calling him an eyesore. He lets on that even Blackwater hates him. San Long is just casually throwing intel on Xie Lian. This is an information that the Heavenly Court will die to have. Curious about the relationship among Ghost Kings, Xie Lian asks if San Long is referring to ships sinking Blackwater and if they are close. San Long quickly denies it and further explains that he is not close to any entity in the Ghost Realm. He casually bragged that other ghosts do not have the right to talk to him as they are not on his level. Xie Lian indulgently smiles at him. Xie Lian lies on his back, preparing himself for sleep, when suddenly, San Long spoke. At first, Xie Lian was not able to understand what he meant. San Long clarified that he was referring to Xie Lian's past motto, "I want to save the common people." Xie Lian cringed at the reminder of his foolish past and hid himself under his makeshift blanket. San Long turned to him with one elbow bent to support his head. Still embarrassed of his past self, Xie Lian continued to hide his face. San Long urged him to ask him what he was embarrassed about. He plays with Xie Lian's hair as he elaborates how daring it was to proclaim one's intention to save or end the common people. While the intentions are different, these are statements that the Ghost King admires. Saving the people is harder than killing them. Thus he admires it more. A proclamation as pure as saving the people and as grievous as ending their lives holds the promise of following through with it. Xie Lian finally showed his face and realized how he'd said sillier things in the past. With his full attention on Xie Lian, the Ghost King urged him to tell him more silly things. San Long wants to keep up the pillow talk. With a resigned sigh, Xie Lian tells the story of a child who, in his despair, proclaimed how painful it was to live, how every day he dreams of ending his miserable life, how every day he wants to end everyone's life and be done with his own. My heart bleeds for this child. Such a miserable existence. With regret for his own words, Xie Lian tells San Long how he responded to the child's anguished plea. With all the benevolence of a god who had power and the optimism of a pampered prince, he told the child that if he finds no meaning in life, then he must keep on living for Xie Lian. If he finds no reason to live, then he must use Xie Lian as his reason and treat him as a pillar. He thanked the child for the single flower he offered him and expressed how much he liked it. In this raggedy shrine, Xie Lian admits to how foolish his words were, and how careless it was to offer himself to be someone's reason for living. Xie Lian admits that back then, he thought of himself as omnipotent, but now that he is wiser and knows suffering, he won't be able to utter the same words even when asked. Xie Lian wonders what happened to that child. Being someone's reason for living is already a big responsibility, more so when proclaiming to save the common people. San Long lies back down. He surmised that saving the common people is achievable in many ways. Daring to declare such intention is brave yet foolish. However, foolish as it is indeed a very brave thing to say. Xie Lian was touched by such acknowledgement and thanked San Long for his kind words. San Long playfully addressed him as Your Highness and comments how he learned a lot of things from Xie Lian when they've only known each other for a few days. He wonders if Xie Lian should be more wary of him. Xie Lian nonchalantly dismissed any notion of wariness as he stretched. He notes that it does not matter how much you've known anyone, as it only takes a day to become strangers. That hits deep, and so true. Xie Lian continued to share that people meet new people each day. They may get along, they may not, and they may move on with their lives separately. All parties will come to an end, and must be enjoyed while it lasts. Pensively, San Long asked Xie Lian that if he were not good-looking, or more specifically, if his true form was not good-looking, would Xie Lian want to see his real appearance? At some deep-seated insecurity. He seemed so vulnerable when he asked that. This question startled Xie Lian, but he honestly told San Long that he's always felt that San Long's true form would not be horrible to look at. San Long playfully egged him on. He asked Xie Lian if his appearance turned out to be of a vicious monster, an ugly demon, or a disgustingly disfigured entity, what would he do? Xie Lian realized that even ghost kings care about their appearance. He remembers hearing rumors that Crimson Rain Sought Flower was heavily bullied as a child for being disfigured, which may have contributed to his sensitivity to his original appearance. Xie Lian admits that he wanted to see San Long's appearance because they are already so close to the point that they can sleep together. They must count as friends now, and it's only natural for him to want to see his friend in his true form. He assures San Long that his looks won't matter to Xie Lian. Xie Lian stopped talking as he realized that San Long was trembling. He worries that his kind words may have moved San Long to tears. With a forced cough, San Long openly laughed at Xie Lian, embarrassed that he may have said something silly. He pushes at San Long's chest and asks if he said wrong. San Long exclaimed how moved he was by Xie Lian's words, but Xie Lian did not think he is being sincere. The Ghost King grabbed the other's wrist and placed Xie Lian's palm on his chest. He tells him that Xie Lian won't be able to find a more sincere person than San Long in the three realms. Those are words that will make your knees weak. He said those words with such sincerity that Xie Lian was left speechless. Embarrassed with how the conversation turned out, Xie Lian put a halt to the pillow talks and encouraged the other to sleep. San Long reached out to Xie Lian's hair and kissed the tips. He promised that when they see each other again, it will be in his original form. It was a chilly autumn morning at Puqi Shrine. Xie Lian called out for his companion as he trudged barefoot into the shrine aimed to worship him. He searched everywhere until he reached the door San Long built for him and realized that his new friend had left. He looks at the jar housing Banya and realizes that only the two of them will reside in this humble new home, in this humble village. As he leaned down to bring the jar inside the shrine, his eyes were caught by a sparkly piece of adornment hanging loose from his neck. It was a diamond pendant shaped like a ring with a ruby adorning its center, attached to an equally splendidly made silver chain. The pendant sparkles and shines under the morning sun as Xie Lian raises it to the light to better inspect it. It is beautiful. Even in his old palace, with all the luxury his parents acquired, he has never seen a diamond more glittery and bright than the one is holding between his fingers. He realized that it must have been a gift from San Long. He hides the pendant inside his robe and decides to ask San Long why he was given such a delicate gift. The next time they meet, as Xie Lian dressed to set out, he chanced upon his hat and rejoiced that it was fixed. Not only was it fixed, it was adorned with a veil that would protect him from the sun. He rejoiced that it was even sturdier than before. It must have been San Long who fixed it. With his new hat, he decided that it was time for a change of robes. As he unpacks his clothes from his bag, he hears a summon from Ling Wen urging him to report to the heavenly court. He asked Ling Wen if the summon was due to what happened in Half Moon Pass. Ling Wen affirms Xie Lian's suspicions, and she instructs him to report directly to the Great Martial Hall, for the Heavenly Emperor is back. The Great Martial Hall is a place in heaven where gods would convene under the summon of the Heavenly Emperor, Junwu. As he enters the gates of the heavenly court, he notices that some gods and goddesses are whispering amongst themselves while glancing at him furtively. He wonders if rumors of what happened at Half Moon Pass have already spread throughout the heavenly court. A well-dressed man riding a cloud is fast approaching Xie Lian from behind while calling for his highness. And here I thought, Son Goku will be the only character I'll ever know who rides a cloud. Startled by being addressed so politely, Xie Lian turned to look at the man and confusedly looked on as the man passed him by. Xie Lian thought that the man was calling for him. He realized that the man was addressing a heavenly official ahead of him. The heavenly official must have been royalty to be addressed as His Highness and seems to have forgotten his identity pass. The heavenly official sheepishly accepted his identity pass from his aide and saw Xie Lian staring at him. For a moment, the heavenly officials stared at each other. They are like night and day. One is clad in humble Taoist robes, while the other is dressed extravagantly, befitting his station while riding a tiger. Not only is the other guy decked out in Gucci, but he also has a cool ride. Xie Lian raised his hat in salute and addressed the other as Crown Prince with a smile. The other heavenly official is none other than the martial god of the East, Long Qian Chu. That tiger with a head ornament is very cute. After a moment of tense staring, Long Qianqiu cheerfully greeted him with a big grin on his face. His aide awkwardly urged him to hurry, while the crown prince asked his aide why they needed to rush. Xie Lian decided to follow them on his own. Meanwhile, the gods and goddesses who witnessed the encounter whispered amongst themselves as they commented on how awkward it was. It was hard not to compare the two crown princes. Both rose to power at a young age, both are martial gods, and have both governed the East. But the most intriguing part is that Long Qianqiu was the crown prince of Yang'an, the kingdom that destroyed Qianla. So that's why it's awkward. If Xie Lian is not how he is, he will have a beef to settle with Long Qianqiu. The onlookers continued to laugh at Xie Lian's misery. Having mastered the art of ignoring mocking remarks, Xie Lian moved forward. As he walks, another call for His Highness, the Crown Prince, is heard from behind. Not wanting another awkward exchange, Xie Lian turns to look and is relieved to see Ling Wen, flanked by her aides, and carrying stacks of books and scrolls with them. She addresses Xie Lian. She warns him to be cautious, as General Pei is not happy with the impending exile of General Pei Jr. For someone who was banished twice before, being exiled is not a heavy punishment, in Xie Lian's opinion. General Pei Jr. may still return to the heavenly court. Xie Lian asks about news on the boy from Yujin Mountain, the one with the human face disease. Ling Wen apologizes to Xie Lian as she has no news to share but promises to continue looking for the boy. Xie Lian clasped both his hands in thanks and bid his farewell. Gods from far and wide entered the great martial hall. Situated on the majestic throne is the heavenly emperor. His hand grips his throne as he addresses Xie Lian and stands up. The heavenly emperor, Junwu, towers over Xie Lian. He is dressed in rich flowing robes, with his shoulders adorned with beautifully crafted shoulder guards and a golden shawl wrapped around his being, seemingly floating and having a life of its own. He trusts that Xie Lian knows why he called him to the heavenly court. Xie Lian affirmed but expressed that he was under the impression that General Pei Jr. had been punished. From behind, a man in black boots walked with an air of unparalleled confidence. He expressed the difficulty of handling such a situation due to recent information that came to light. This heavenly official is General Pei Ming, the martial god of the north. This is the guy that Xuanji was in love with. He greets Xie Lian with veiled contempt and walks past him to address the heavenly emperor. Xie Lian realized that, without a doubt, he had offended General Pei. General Pei explained that during one of his visits to General Pei Jr., the other mentioned something unusual. Although General Pei Jr. used a weakened clone, he is still powerful enough to defeat Wrath-rank ghosts. However, there was one person who left him black and blue. General Pei finds it very strange. Upon further interrogation, he discovers that the man who beat General Pei is clad in red and is affiliated with Xie Lian. The man was able to easily defeat hundreds of half-moon soldiers inside the pit. Realization dawned among the spectating heavenly officials. General Pei Ming finally addressed Xie Lian to personally ask him which god the man clad in red was. This is entrapment. Be careful, Xie Lian. Xie Lian faked a cough and a feigned ignorance. He claimed that he had no recollection of the man and that he must have been part of the traveling caravan. No one's going to believe that, Xie Lian. Realizing that he was interrogating a bad liar, General Pei countered that little Pei observed that the man was close to Xie Lian. It can't be someone he met by chance. Xie Lian wanted to counter that he just met San Long for a few days, but he can't say it as it will counter his lies. A voice rises among the spectating heavenly official, addressing General Pei. This time, a dainty young man clad in white and teal robes approached them. He is carrying a whisk. This man is the Lord Wind Master, Shi Swan. He counters that everything General Pei has presented in this hall is all from General Pei Jr.'s accounts of the events. It is hard to trust the words of a criminal and thus needs further investigation. General Pei Ming mentions that with the help of General Nanyang and General Swan Jun, they can confirm the identity of the man clad in red. With a snap of the fingers, the body of little Pei's clone appears in front of them. He urges the help of the two generals to identify the wounds littering the clone's body. Nanyang and Swan Jun faced off with Crimson Rain Sought Flower and will be able to determine if these wounds were made by Yiming, Huacheng's saber. Junwu ordered the two generals to inspect the wounds. Amidst the throng, the two generals stepped up to the dais and approached the deceased clone. The spectators gossiped amongst themselves to comment on the awkwardness of the three being seen together. They meant Xie Lian, Mu Qing, and Feng Xin. As the two generals inspected the wounds, Xie Lian avoided their eyes. With their verdicts made, the two looked up to announce that the wounds were indeed caused by Huacheng's saber, Yiming. This declaration caused an uproar amongst the officials as Pei Ming victoriously smiled. He thanked the two generals, as he concluded that his suspicions were true. With this piece of information coming to light, he urged the Heavenly Emperor to reconsider the exile of General Pei Jr. The Wind Master addressed General Pei, asking him to clarify if he was implying that Xie Lian and Huacheng colluded to blame Pei Jr. Xie Lian, not realizing that the man is the Wind Master, wonders why he has been defending him. I can't blame Xie Lian for not recognizing the Lord Wind Master. He was a different gender when they first met. As the Wind Master attaches his whisk to his back, Xie Lian concludes that the man looks familiar. General Pei covers his face in exasperation. He defends that he is not implying that a collusion may have happened. Rather, he concludes that Crimson Rain-sought flower must have deceived the Crown Prince. He makes a point that since Crimson Rain-sought flower is involved, they must investigate the matter further. He concludes that Banya, the Grand Tutor, should be presented for public trial. With Banya being involved in the conversation, Xie Lian countered that General Pei Meng must believe the accounts of the Wind Master as she was present. She heard General Pei Jr.'s confession in the Center's pit. Furthermore, he urged General Pei to ask the Heavenly Emperor to check him for any deception magic. He also opposes that even if the man with him turned out to be Hua Cheng, it does not absolve Pei Jr. of his crimes. He heatedly argues that even if Ghost Kings are notorious, not every crime can be pinned on them. This silenced the other heavenly officials while the Wind Master insistently fans himself. Junwu below to bring everything back in order. He announces his verdict that as General Pei Jr. has confessed to the crimes, and Kimo's accounts of the events match his, the matter of Half Moon Pass has been resolved. The exile of General Pei Su is final. Without further argument left on the matter, General Pei has to concede with the Emperor's decision. With a respectful salute, he assented to the exile of Pei Su but eagerly pleaded that the Emperor investigates the wounds on Pei Su's clone. The Emperor assured him that he would investigate the matter thoroughly. With a wave of his hand, he dismissed all heavenly officials that gathered in the Great Martial Hall except Xie Lian. As everyone left, Xie Lian stood on the dais as he watched everyone leave. At the corner of his eye, he saw someone approach, which made him freeze awkwardly on the spot. General Xuan Zhen or Mu Qing haughtily passed him by without a word. General Nanyang or Feng Xin stood awkwardly to the side, seemingly wanting to speak, but decided not to utter a word and left in a hurry. This confused Xie Lian, who awkwardly stayed rooted in place. The Lord Wind Master jovially raised a hand, but before he could call out to Xie Lian, he was scolded by General Pei. Lord Wind Master's older brother is the Lord Water Master, who is best buds with General Pei. General Pei tried to intimidate Lord Wind Master by mentioning how the Lord Water Master would be displeased by Lord Wind Master's inelegant demeanor. Annoyed at being bullied, Lord Wind Master counters that he is not afraid of his brother. General Pei is miffed about the Lord Wind Master's role in getting little Pei exiled for 2 years. The Lord Wind Master retorted that Pei Su did it to himself. He stomped off like a child. I agree. It's no one else's fault but Pei Su's. General Pei followed him in exasperation. Xie Lian amusedly watched the scene unfold. The Emperor, Junwu, called for his attention. He seems to fondly address Xie Lian as Qiama, which is surprising because they fought during Xie Lian's second banishment. Junwu walked down the raised platform as he closed the distance between him and Xie Lian. He asked Xie Lian how he got acquainted with Crimson Rain-sought flower and the saber, Yiming. Not wanting to disclose further information on his new friend, Xie Lian bent his knees in apology to the Emperor but was swiftly stopped by a hand on his arm. He bowed his head in apology, and like a child being harshly scolded, Junwu asked him if he knew what he did wrong. After a few beats of not hearing any reply from Xie Lian, it was clear to Junwu that he would not get an answer out of Xie Lian. With a sigh, he let the matter go and invited Xie Lian to walk with him. Their walk led them to a luxurious garden where they could enjoy the lake littered with many lotuses in full bloom. Like a parent chastising an errant child, Junwu commented how Xie Lian is all grown up. He scolded Xie Lian for not keeping in touch with him during his banishment. Xie Lian kept to his own devices and made himself suffer along the way. Not only that, Xie Lian has not visited him since he ascended a 3rd time. Had it been any other god who showed such disrespect, Ling Wen would have punished them severely. Junwu sounded like a doting parent whose child does not visit anymore. Properly chastised, Xie Lian kept quiet as he followed behind Daddy Junwu. I meant the Heavenly Emperor. Junwu does not accept Xie Lian's apology. If it is an apology for what happened in the past, he orders Xie Lian to forget about it. Xie Lian smiled and cryptically told him that it was impossible to forget. Junwu, with his majestic back to Xie Lian, told him to move forward. He mentions that Xie Lian would be needed for many things in the future. He told Xie Lian that he had already forgotten or forgiven Xie Lian for what happened 800 years ago. Xie Lian softly reminded him that he was no longer the proud prince he once was but a lowly scrap god with no spiritual powers. He does not understand how he can be of use. He only wishes to not trouble anyone. Junwu chastised him for looking down on himself and praised him for a job well done on the 2 tasks assigned to him. With a sharp gaze, he asked Xie Lian if he had garnered the interest of someone of great power this time. Xie Lian hastily told the Emperor that he did not do anything. He explains that he met a promising youth and took him under his wing. He did not suspect that the child was a supreme. Junwu pointed out that if Xie Lian were to say the same thing in front of the heavenly court, no one would believe him. Xie Lian knows this and is grateful for the heavenly emperor's interference. Junwu believes in Xie Lian enough to trust him to not take the side of evil. While he may trust Xie Lian, his relationship with Hua Cheng may conflict with the task he wishes to assign him to next. Curious, Xie Lian asked the emperor what task he was referring to. The emperor explained that a week ago, a raging fire shaped like a dragon rose from the eastern mountains and broke through the skies with unimaginable speed. It was a spectacle that lasted for an hour before its fires died out. Many people saw this fiery spectacle, but none were harmed by its flames. The emperor asked Xie Lian if he understood what it meant. Xie Lian responded that a dragon made of fire is a spell used by heavenly officials when they are on their last thread of life. When cornered beyond saving, a heavenly official will self-destruct to create the fiery dragon as a last resort to call for help. The flames emitting from the dragon will blaze so strongly but will not cause anyone harm. Junwu is satisfied with Xie Lian's answer. He lets on that the reason why he summoned all heavenly officials is to account for everyone's presence, apart from those who never attended. All gods were accounted for and none were missing. The palace of Lingwen, up to this point, has no answer. Xie Lian wonders if the heavenly official who unleashed the dragon is an old god in their retirement or seclusion. Junwu comments that if that were the case, they needed to widen their search and include those who are not on active duty. Many retired officials did not delve into the affairs of heaven for so long that it would be close to impossible to find out who it is. Junwu concludes that whoever forced the heavenly official to use such a spell must have been a formidable opponent. Xie Lian asks if there is a place in the eastern mountains known for the gathering of evil forces. Junwu replied that, indeed, there is one in its close vicinity, and he asked Xie Lian if he had heard of Ghost City. Ghost City is the most prominent place for ghosts to gather to exchange goods and services. It lies between the ghost and mortal realm. Junwu tells Xie Lian that he promptly sent some heavenly officials to Ghost City and searched the place for any clues, but none were found. Junwu suspects that they may have inadvertently alerted the culprit. He suspects that the missing heavenly official was moved to Ghost City. Junwu tells Xie Lian that he needs someone he can trust to visit Ghost City and investigate the matter. Xie Lian clasped his hands together in salute and urged the heavenly emperor to give him the task. The emperor admits that it was Xie Lian he first thought, but there are people involved that may be inconvenient for the crown prince. Xie Lian confusedly asked what he meant. The heavenly emperor pointed out that it is Long Qianqiu who rules the east. Long Qianqiu is the prince of Yong'an, the kingdom that destroyed Qianla. It will be so awkward to work with the guy affiliated with people who destroyed your country. Xie Lian assured the emperor that he had no problem working with Long Qianqiu. The emperor proceeded to inform Xie Lian of the second person. He asks Xie Lian if he is aware of whose territory the ghost city is under. Xie Lian hastens a guess that it may be Hua Cheng. The emperor nods. This makes Xie Lian realize that San Long left 7 days ago, which coincidentally is the same time the fiery dragon was seen. Could it be San Long? Xie Lian can't help but wonder if San Long may be involved in it. Junwu commented that Xie Lian may have a good relationship with Hua Cheng. It is no issue if they have a good relationship. However, if he is the culprit who took one of their own, it will put Xie Lian in the awkward position of befriending heaven's enemy. He considerately told Xie Lian not to force himself. Xie Lian, who believes in people, assured the heavenly emperor that Hua Cheng is not the type to mistreat people and expressed his willingness to take on the task. Xie Lian admired his new palace, spanning many acres of mountains and land. With a large lotus pond, falls, and castles, it is a sight to behold. It is a replica of his old palace. No matter how majestic the landscape is, it is not home for Xie Lian. He let out a sigh and decided not to enter his palace and sat on a bench to pull out a scroll. Xie Lian was warned to be wary of Hua Cheng and the saber, Yiming. Still, he feels in his heart that San Long has no ill intent towards him. The heavenly emperor told Xie Lian to be careful of Hua Cheng. He knows Xie Lian enough to know that he will always do the right thing, but he also knows that he tends to think the best of people. Xie Lian surmised that the doting daddy Junwu always made him feel like a little princess who never went out of her lofty castle. Xie Lian made peace with the fact that the description does not suit him. He took out the scroll that he acquired during one of his haunts near Puqi village. It lists the names of most heavenly officials and what they are known for. He took this time to learn more about the Lord Wind Master, who was tasked to accompany Xie Lian to Ghost City. They are to meet in front of his palace. Xie Lian has not had the pleasure of meeting her formally since their fateful meeting at Half Moon Pass. He concludes that Lord Wind Master is a strong god who gets along with everyone. He looks forward to working with her. Xie Lian leisurely spent the time poring over the scroll as he ate a meat bun when suddenly a boisterous call was heard, and the cheerful Wind Master approached him. Xie Lian looked up from his scroll in confusion. Not realizing that it was the Lord Wind Master in front of him, he was surprised by the appearance of this cheerful man who helped him during General Pei's appeal for Pei Su's punishment. Ready for a fun time of frolicking in Ghost City, the Wind Master happily urged Xie Lian to go out and play. Not knowing how to properly address the man, he addressed him as a fellow cultivator and told him that he was waiting for someone. Baffled at being rejected, the Wind Master asked Xie Lian who else is coming. Xie Lian innocently told him that he was waiting for the Lord Wind Master. Confused at the turn of the conversation, the Lord Wind Master told Xie Lian that he was standing in front of him. I think the Lord Wind Master forgot his cross-dressing ways. Taken aback and even more confused about the gender swap, Xie Lian pointed out that the Lord Wind Master is a woman. The Wind Master brought out his fan and effortlessly changed his appearance to that of a beautiful woman. In a bid to save his sanity, Xie Lian bit on his bun as he recalls the exchange he had with Nunfeng. He remembers how Nunfeng also did not recognize the Lord Wind Master and was angered by his appearance at Half Moon Pass. He asks the Lord Wind Master why he was disguised as a woman in Half Moon Pass, to which the man asked Xie Lian if he did not find him attractive as a woman. Xie Lian answered that he was indeed pretty. Before he can ask the god further for his reasons, he is patted on the shoulder vigorously and is prompted to move. The Lord Wind Master answered that he did it for no other reason than the fact that he was a pretty woman and urged the Crown Prince to go. He's a chipper. I bet it's going to be more fun with the Lord Wind Master around. As they are walking in the wilderness of the eastern mountains, the two get more acquainted with each other. Xie Lian commented that he found it unusual for two people in the Pei family to ascend. It is more unusual and almost impossible for two brothers to ascend at the same time. It turns out that the Water Master and Wind Master are biological brothers. The Lord Wind Master does not think of it as unusual and thinks that it is the natural order of things. He and the Water Master grew up together, were taught by the same teachers, and cultivated together, so it is only natural for them to ascend together. It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't. No two people are the same, and their experiences would be different even if their lives are almost identical. Xie Lian questioned him about his older brother's relationship with Pei Ming, as they appear to be friends. He worries that the Wind Master's involvement in Pei Su's case may cause a rift between Pei Ming and the Water Master. The Wind Master expressed his displeasure at his brother's involvement with Pei Ming. He would be glad if a rift runs between Pei Ming and the Water Master, as he does not think highly of Pei Ming. He also pointed out that Pei Su is at fault, and he can't allow an innocent person, like Banya, to take the fall for Pei Su's actions. He righteously believes that one should be responsible for their actions, no matter what their status is. He heatedly argues that bullying a girl like Banya is not an act that one should be proud of. Xie Lian praised Lord Wind Master's kindness, to which the man responded with praise for Xie Lian. He explains that he heard of Half Moon Pass before but never had the chance to investigate. He was under a lot of pressure from his brother at the time, and the matter of Half Moon Pass was put on the back burner. He was reminded of the case when Xie Lian brought it up in the communication array, dragging the Earth Master with him. He went out to investigate Half Moon Pass and was surprised that Xie Lian went to investigate as well. He was impressed by Xie Lian's eagerness to find the truth. Xie Lian smiled as he realized why the Wind Master was very popular. His straightforwardness and interesting personality draw people to him. He only looked away for a second and was surprised to find that the Lord Wind Master was now a woman. That was fast. This is the kind of thing that will give you whiplash. Xie Lian asked the Wind Master why he suddenly changed his appearance. The Wind Master admitted that he is stronger in this appearance. Xie Lian recalls what he read from the scroll titled Catalogue of Heavenly Officials. The temples that worship the brothers are called Water-Wind temples. Some time ago, a rumor spread that the Wind and Water Masters were husband and wife, and so the effigy used to worship the Wind Master was changed to that of a female, earning him the title Lady Wind Master. So shipping and fanfiction existed in ancient times. Applying his lipstick, the now Lady Wind Master encouraged Xie Lian to turn his appearance to a woman with him. He explains that as women have higher yin energy, it will be easier for them to discreetly infiltrate the Ghost City. Are we about to see a female Xie Lian? Xie Lian thinks the plan is sound, but the thought of meeting San Long as a female embarrasses him. That will be quite a sight. He adamantly refused by reasoning that since he does not have enough power, he might as well not change. The Lord Wind Master enthusiastically offered to lend him some spiritual power and chased after him. Xie Lian vehemently refused and told the Lord Wind Master to save his powers for when they needed to fight. The atmosphere suddenly changed, and the Lord Wind Master commented that as it was midnight, they should be here. Who's supposed to appear? He puts away his whisk as they both observe the silence. A crow flies by, and soon bright lanterns appear in their vision. A parade of female ghosts enters the wilderness, not noticing the gods watching them. A ghost expresses her joy at the reopening of the Ghost City and mentions how she plans to get her face done. The other asked why she needed to get it done again when she had recently had her face done. The other responded that her face kept rotting. Xie Lian and the Lord Wind Master decided to follow the ghosts, as they may lead them to Ghost City. As they followed, the female ghost lamented how she was promised that her face would last a year, but it rotted pretty quickly. Even ghosts experience botched plastic surgery. I guess life after death is not at all different from the living. The other consoled her and asked for the name of the store that did her face so she could avoid them. One of the ghosts notices Xie Lian and the Lord Wind Master following them and comments that she has not seen them before. The two explained that they were from a faraway graveyard and that they traveled miles to visit the Ghost City. The ghosts looked at them in silence, which worried the two as they may have been discovered. One of the ghosts exclaimed that their faces were well maintained and asked if they could recommend a shop that does an honest business of keeping a ghost face flawless. The Lord Wind Master happily told the ghosts that he also finds his face flawless and would be happy to share some beauty tips. Xie Lian was relieved that they were able to avoid being detected. They finally arrived in Ghost City. There seems to be a theme around the city as it is mostly red. The long parade of ghosts entered the Ghost City with red chrysanthemums and red lanterns hanging above them. Xie Lian wanders around as he checks out what Ghost City has to offer. One stall sells soup made of eyeballs, and a pop-up theater shows off a burly man breathing fire. The astonished crowd clapped and cheered. As Xie Lian wanders about, a piece of joss paper and a few paper coins fall from the sky. Xie Lian looked on at the prosperous Ghost City as it made a first impression on the Crown Prince. Xie Lian continued his wandering and was concerned that Lord Wind Master disappeared from his sight so quickly. They haven't been there for an hour, and they already lost each other. Not a good way to start an investigation. He passes by a butcher selling human meat. That's the stuff of nightmares. He wonders if the Lord Wind Master was taken away to those stores that can maintain faces. Xie Lian tried to use the communication array to contact the Wind Master, but it was for naught. There is a barrier hindering telepathic communications in Ghost City. Xie Lian realized how it would be difficult to find someone in this massive city. Dainty steps approached him, and the manicured fingers of a female ghost grabbed him from behind. A flamboyant woman told him that he was quite a looker. Xie Lian was taken aback by her flirtatious attitude and asked her to follow decorum. She sinisterly laughed at him at being addressed as Miss. She was surprised that someone would still address her so politely. She cackled wantonly as Xie Lian tried to leave in embarrassment. She grabbed his arm, intending to drag him along so they could have a great time. She even offered to pay him for his time. As he tried to politely shake her off, he addressed her as a miss, which offended her. She slapped her hand in irritation as she nattered on him. She wantonly showed off her cleavage to entice Xie Lian, which drew a crowd of spectators. This wanton display shocked Xie Lian to silence. A man with his face covered by a mask hollered that nobody wanted her cause she was old and ugly. That's just rude. The jeering crowd added to her ire. To save her from the embarrassment, Xie Lian told the crowd that he was impotent. That's some selfless, gentlemanly act on Xie Lian's part. The crowd laughed and pointed at him, and the female ghost who had been harassing him finally left him alone. The female ghost spat out about him being a pig, which offended the boar butchering the humans. She rounded on the butcher and called him a brute. Their fight garnered the attention of the crowd. The female ghost Lan Chan and the butcher Zhu continued their spat, and the people crowded at them, expecting the butcher Zhu to soon start hacking ghosts. Xie Lian let out a sigh as he extricated himself from the noisy crowd. He finally chances upon a massive red building. Flying fish seemingly made of ember fly above the sky. Banners hang in front with words that are hard to comprehend. The writing style is horrible. Only a mad person can write that way. Words like money over life and gains over shame hang above this formidable building. Xie Lian wonders if the Lord Wind Master is in this building as he sets out to enter the gambling den. Xie Lian decided to go inside and take a look around. A group of burly men carried a bloodied individual on a stretcher. The man's legs appeared to have been amputated as he calls out in regret for his missing legs. The men carried him down the stairs out of the building while Xie Lian looked in, wondering what goes on inside this den. Tiny goblins followed the bloodied trail as they tasted the human's blood. A hand appears from behind the curtain, and a woman with sharp features asks Xie Lian if he has come to play. Xie Lian bashfully told her that he only came in to look around and mentions how he has no money on him. That's a good way of getting people off your back when they want your money. She told him not to worry as money is not what people use here to gamble. What can you use to gamble? I guess the banners up front make it obvious. Xie Lian stood on the second floor, overlooking the flurry of activities downstairs. The female ghost is carrying some sort of ball, which emits an enticing smell of smoke and something otherworldly. She entices Xie Lian to gamble. They walk deeper into the den, and Xie Lian thought to himself how luxurious this gambling den is. From the center of the den, a large rectangular table is in front of a raised platform shrouded by red curtains. A man standing at the far end of the table announces that he will gamble his hand. OMG, I can't. I'm very attached to my limbs. Thank you very much. A voice is heard from behind the curtains, rejecting the man's offer. The voice tells the man that even his entire life has no value here, so gambling his hand is useless. Xie Lian recognized the voice. It is none other than San Long's. The man wearing a devil's mask slammed his hands on the red table as he argued that the previous guy was allowed to bet his legs. One of the attendants standing by the raised platform let out a chuckle as she explains that the previous gambler was a notorious thief. His legs are valuable as they are light and nimble. She explained that he is neither an artist nor a surgeon, so his hands are worthless. The man, shocked by his worth, gulped down any semblance of guilt and unashamedly declares that he shall gamble 10 years of his daughter's life. That is some sick dad. How could he bet his own daughter's life? Everyone is in uproar over the man's brazenness and desperation. Xie Lian can't believe that a father would willingly bet his daughter's life. He is even more astounded that it can be used as a betting chip. A chiseled face is shown, and from behind the curtains, he accepted the man's offer. The ghosts ordered the man to start. With a tap of his finger, the cup rotated and zoomed across the red table before finally stopping in front of the gambler. Another attendant announces the rules of the game. He loses if the results are even and wins if the results are odd. They allow no room for disputes once the cup is lifted. Like a death sentence, she prompted him to begin. He vigorously shook the cup and slammed it with the opening down on the table. He vehemently wished for the results to be odds. He peeked under the cup and was astounded that the results were odds. He cheered like a madman. The attendant congratulated him for his win and granted him his wish for his business venture to turn for the better. A wise man would take their win at this point, but a greedy man will want more. And this is a man motivated by greed. He wanted more. He wanted all his competitors to drop dead. This guy is extremely greedy. When you win from gambling, you have to know when to stop. If it were another place, spectators would be appalled at the man's greediness. But here at Gambler's Den, greed runs the show. By the way, the place is called Gambler's Den in the book, so we will be referring to this place as such to distinguish it from the other places. The attendant told him that his wish is more difficult to fulfill. 10 years of his daughter's life is not enough. She urged him to consider another wish, like his business improving. The man would not concede. He intends to add more to the bet to get what he wants. Selfishly, he placed a bet on the fate of his daughter's marriage. What a cruel dad. Totally despicable. The crowd was in a frenzy, some appalled, others impressed. Xie Lian looked on in silence, convinced that San Long will not allow such a thing to happen. The attendant accepted the bet and called out the rules of the game. Getting an even is a loss, while getting an odd is a win. Xie Lian decided to take matters into his own hands, and was about to approach the table, but he was held back by a hand grabbing his robe. It was the Lord Wind Master. He told Xie Lian to not be hasty, and to see what happens. The gambler blew air into his closed fists, and he ritually rubbed the dice. As they watch the scene unfold, Xie Lian asks the Wind Master how he found this place. The Wind Master replied that it would be a lengthy story. He was supposed to meet Qian Chu in this den, and did not expect to meet Xie Lian in such a place. As the god of the East, it is best to meet up with Qian Chu in this place. Unimpressed with the man's dawdling, the spectators urged the man to raise the cup to see the results. Unperturbed by the spectators' mean remarks, the man finished his rituals and finally reached for the cup. As his hand hovers above the cup, a hand smashed his hand right on top of the cup, shattering it to pieces, splintering the gambler's hand, and destroying a part of the red table. The gambler let out a scream as the bones in his hand were broken. Holding onto his bruised and bloodied hand, he expressed his pain, but the man who broke his hand did not stop there. A kick from behind causes the man to topple to the ground. Above him stood His Highness Taiwa, Long Qian Chu. Yeah, somebody finally came to stop this madness. Disgusted by the gambler's heartless disregard for his daughter, Qian Chu stomped on the man as he lectured the gambler to not wish for another's demise. Wanting fame and fortune is acceptable, but if they must gamble, Qian Chu lectures that he should use his life as a betting chip, not his daughter's fate and happiness. He called the man worthless and even worse as a father. On the sidelines, a surprised Xie Lian asked the Wind Master if he neglected to inform Qian Chu to keep a low profile. The Wind Master face-palmed as he told Xie Lian that he did not fail to instruct Qian Chu. But there is no helping it as this is how he is. Long Qian Chu is an extremely righteous person. The Ghost King behind the curtain let out a chuckle as he commended the intruder for his boldness in meddling in the affairs of the gambling den. Qian Chu asked if he rules this gambling den, as his eyes roam the vicinity. He expresses his disgust at this wretched, lawless place where ghosts gather. Surely, nothing good comes from this place. Offended, the ghosts present challenged his judgmental comments. Qian Chu thought it better to rid the world of this hellhole. He slammed his palm on the red table, causing it to shoot straight to the curtains, obscuring the Ghost King. With a flick of his wrist, Hua Cheng was able to redirect the table back to Qian Chu. With 2 hands, Qian Chu was able to stop the heavy table from slamming into him. The action caused the floor to break as he skidded across the floor. With a huff, Qian Chu thought himself triumphant as he was able to stop Hua Cheng's attack. Little did he know that the Ghost King was merely playing with him. With a resounding boom, the table broke into large splinters. Its broken shards attacked Qian Chu. His Highness Taiwa was able to avoid being pierced by the sharp planks, but it was only a distraction. With his palm raised upward, Qian Chu was lifted off his feet. An invisible force suspended him in the air for everyone to see. Oh no, his body is raised spread-eagled above everyone's head. His foolishness caused everyone to laugh. The Ghost King announced that anyone lucky enough can win him as a prize. They can do whatever they want to him. Fry him, steam him, cook him. Unable to move, Qian Chu was forced to listen to the ghosts argue on which game they should play, and what they planned to do to him should they win. The ghosts laughed at his expense, citing how foolish he was for making trouble in Hua Cheng's territory. The Wind Master slammed his fist on the banister as he exclaimed that things had gone out of hand. He faces Xie Lian, asking him if they can resolve this by placing a bet or if they should just fight. Contemplating their best course of action, Xie Lian asked about the Wind Master's luck. The Wind Master responded that his luck is so-so and is not guaranteed. Xie Lian shared that whenever he throws a dice, he only gets the lowest number. The Wind Master was surprised at how unlucky Xie Lian was. He then had a wonderful idea of betting on the lowest number to guarantee their win. Xie Lian enthusiastically agreed to give it a try. The 2 heavenly officials descended the stairs and encouraged everyone to play a game where they would bet on getting the lowest number when they throw the dice. Some attendees wondered if changing the rules is allowed, while another commented that there is no rule against it. Qian Chu was offended that he is being regarded as a prize and demanded for his immediate release. The ghosts simply laughed at him and his demands were ignored. The attendees talked among themselves to discuss how they'd want to cook Qian Chu and urged their companions to give it a try. In the midst of the commotion, Xie Lian took the cup and gave it a shake. When the cup was lifted, lo and behold, 2 sixes. The 2 stood staring at the dice, crestfallen. Xie Lian pinched his nose in disappointment, realizing that changing the rules does not change his luck. The Wind Master suggested that it may be time to start fighting. An attendee approached the raised platform as she listened to the Ghost King's instructions from behind the curtain. She then requested for everyone to keep quiet as she announced that the Ghost King would like to give everyone a chance to play. Should they win, they can take the thing she meant Qian Chu as a prize. This stopped everyone from wanting to place a bet, as no one is foolish enough to bet against their lord. Offended at being regarded as a thing, Qian Chu voiced his objections and once again demanded to be let go. Xie Lian and the Wind Master closed their eyes in exasperation at Lord Taiwa's antics. Xie Lian approached the newly placed red gambling table and politely asked to play a match with the Ghost King. The attendant agreed while the Ghost King straightened in his seat behind the curtains, his full attention on Xie Lian. As Xie Lian was about to shake the cup, he was halted by the attendant. She explained that the Ghost King observed that Xie Lian's posture is not the correct way to shake a cup. Xie Lian was surprised, and he wondered if his luck could change if he used the correct posture. Having never heard of such a thing, Xie Lian politely asked to be taught the proper posture. The attendant instructed Xie Lian to step on the raised platform as the Ghost King wanted to teach him. The ghosts in attendance are surprised that their lord is willing to teach someone. Such an event was unprecedented. They wonder who this fellow in white is and if there is truly a proper posture in shaking a cup. The attendant urged Xie Lian to come up on the platform. Those in attendance waited in bated breath as Xie Lian approached the platform. Holding the cup in 2 hands, he walked closer to the curtains with his eyes lowered. He watched as a pair of boots come closer, and a pair of hands parted the curtains to cup his hands. Xie Lian was stunned by his handsome face. Holding both his hands, Crimson Rain Sought Flower asked Xie Lian if he would like to place his bet on high or low. Stunned by his looks, Xie Lian almost did not catch his question. He hastily answered that he'd placed his bet on a high number. Hua Cheng covered his hands as they shook the cup. Xie Lian blushed at how close they were in the intimate way that his hands were held. The Ghost King told Xie Lian that this is the proper way to shake the cup. He raised the cup to reveal a 5 and a 6. This excited Xie Lian. The Ghost King told him to give it a try, and he vigorously shook the cup. The Ghost King halted his movements and told him that he is not shaking the cup properly. He showed him the right way to do it a second time. The attendants watching from the sidelines giggled at the intimate display, which made Xie Lian blush. Finally, Hua Cheng let go of his hands and told him to open the cup. The cup revealed 2 threes. This has never happened to Xie Lian before, and he thought that his luck may be improving. He apologized to Hua Cheng for losing in spite of his gracious willingness to teach Xie Lian. The Ghost King told him that this round did not count. The ghosts that are watching the scene realize that with the Ghost King good mood, he is sincerely teaching Xie Lian and does not have a nefarious intent. They wondered when the round would count. On Xie Lian's second attempt, he got 2 4s. The numbers went up. Is there really a proper posture in shaking the cup? Hua Cheng pointed out to Xie Lian that the numbers did increase and that they should try again. Xie Lian can't help but wonder if Hua Cheng is simply humoring him. Up above, Qian Chu shouted at Xie Lian to stop playing with Hua Cheng's hands. The Ghost King is scheming to trick Xie Lian, as there is no such thing as the correct way to shake a cup. Hua Cheng's devoted citizens told Qian Chu to shut up and simply revel in their lord's genius. Another ghost threatens to pull his pants down, which causes the indignant Qian Chu to sputter, unable to form coherent words. Worriedly, Xie Lian looked up at Qian Chu. He called the Ghost King by his nickname. His San Long urged him to continue their game, and Xie Lian let out a helpless sigh. On the third attempt, the dice rolled 2 5s. To the astonishment of the spectating crowd, Xie Lian finally realized that San Long was simply toying with him and that there was no correct posture to alter his luck. Xie Lian asked San Long to allow for the next round to determine the winner. Before Xie Lian could shake the cup, San Long reminded Gaga that he had yet to place a bet. Xie Lian froze on the spot, realizing that he had nothing valuable in his person. The ghosts were stunned that their lord would address this man as Gaga. One ghost even dropped his head in shock. Xie Lian rummaged through his bag and realized that he only has a half-eaten manju bun. Hua Cheng graciously accepted the bun as his Gaga's betting chip, which stunned the crowd. Qian Chu expressed his dissatisfaction at his life's worth, which is only equivalent to a half-eaten bun. The ghosts laughed at this. Definitely hilarious. I'd be as deeply offended as Qian Chu if this were to happen to me. Xie Lian trembles, and San Long comforts him. Xie Lian held his breath as he shook the cup. When the cup was lifted, 2 6s facing upwards greeted him. Hua Cheng admits defeat. The spectators realized that their lord planned for Xie Lian to win. They reasoned that since their lord taught Xie Lian how to shake the dice properly, it was also his win, and praised him for his noble deed. They felt enlightened, thinking that they learned a lot today. These ghosts are fanatics of San Long, that they don't even wonder if what he does makes sense at all. Qian Chu's voice broke through everyone's cheering and demanded to be let down now that Xie Lian won. With a flick of his hand, the invisible force keeping Qian Chu hostage dispersed, dropping him gracelessly to the ground. Xie Lian asked him if he was all right. The Lord Tai Hua confirmed that he is unharmed and thought that Hua Cheng must have called Xie Lian to the platform to trick him. He is thankful twas Xie Lian won. Hua Cheng parted the curtains. His boots jingled as he stepped out to tease Xie Lian for winning against him. Xie Lian knew that it was all a ruse. The ghosts were struck by Hua Cheng's new appearance. This is the first time they see their lord wearing this skin. They think of him as handsome with a lively parlor. Others even commented that his looks could kill them, albeit already dead. As murmurs of the lord's current appearance rang through the crowd, Xie Lian realized that this is not a fake skin. This is Hua Cheng's true appearance. He remembers the last time they were together. While feigning sleep, he hears Hua Cheng's promise to show his true self the next time they meet. This Ghost King keeps his promises to his darling Xie Lian. He turned to San Long and thanked him. Qian Chu did not appreciate Xie Lian for thanking the Ghost King when it was he who set up the gambling ring for nefarious reasons. Xie Lian urged him to not say anything more that would cause more trouble. Surprisingly, Hua Cheng stopped them from leaving and asked Xie Lian to leave his wager behind. This confused Xie Lian. An incensed Long Qian Chu shielded Xie Lian from the Ghost King. He asked if the Ghost King plans to double-cross them. Xie Lian pointed out that he won. Therefore, he does not need to leave behind a wager. Hua Cheng agreed that he did indeed win against him, but he also lost in the previous round. Xie Lian countered that he was promised that the previous rounds did not count, but the one the Ghost King was referring to was when Xie Lian encouraged the crowd to bet on the lowest number, and Xie Lian drew 2 6s. So, he was referring to that time. Qian Chu became extremely angry at Hua Cheng's insistence that they leave a wager. He concludes that the Ghost King did not plan to let them off all along. Xie Lian pacified Qian Chu and told him that fighting at this point is unnecessary. Hua Cheng cockily addressed Xie Lian, teasing him into giving up his wager. Xie Lian agreed that he lost the first round. Approaching the raised platform, Xie Lian reached for his bag. Everyone held their breath as he pulled out the half-eaten bun he placed as a bet previously. He handed it over to Hua Cheng's waiting hand. He graciously accepted the half-eaten bun sincerely, which baffled those who saw it. They wonder if there is something hidden in the bun. Others have used their limbs, their life, and even their souls in the gambling den, but Xie Lian only needs to bring a half-eaten bun. Embarrassed by what he has to offer, Xie Lian told San Long that the bun is cold and hard. Hua Cheng did not mind. Not knowing what to do with his hands, Xie Lian turned his back and bid his awkward farewell. As he walks toward his companion, he hears a ghost ask Hua Cheng where he plans to go after. Raising the half-eaten bun with one hand like it was the most wonderful treasure, he told the waiting crowd that he plans to go to Paradise Manor. Hua Cheng is in a good mood. Everyone cheered, anticipating the merriment inside the manor. As Xie Lian walks out, He turns to look at San Long, only to blush as the Ghost King takes a bite. That's just sexy, naughty San Long. The three left the gambler's den. In the alley near the den, the Wind Master scolded Long Qi and Chu. His impulsiveness could have caused conflict between the Heavenly Court and the Ghost Realm. Qi and Chu apologized, but he justified his actions by the fact that if he did not take action, then no one will. He is conscientious of the gambler's competitors and daughter. Their conversation was halted by a horrified scream from deep within the alley. Now, what is it this time? They just got away from one ordeal and is about to dive into another. Never a dull moment for this group.